Hello everyone. Here we are going to learn Advanced SAS today. Before you get started with the Advanced SAS training, the prerequisite is to learn base SAS. Not only learn base SAS but also master each and every concept of base SAS. Practice a lot on every concept. Try to understand which feature can be used in what situation. Most likely the usage of the raw data file, how to use the raw data file, how to use the Excel worksheet, what are the formats, in formats, and merge concept, as well as the arrays and stuff like that. So if you want to get started with the advanced SAS training, the first thing first is that you have to take the base SAS training. If possible, also take base SAS certification with SAS India. After that, you can start with the advanced SAS training. You will get the concepts much better and much faster, especially if you're not coming from the programming background. If you're coming from the programming background, then after taking the base SAS training, you can directly go for the advanced SAS training. But if you're coming from a non-programming background, take the base SAS training, take the base SAS certification, and then take the advanced SAS training. In advanced SAS, as we saw in base SAS, we had n number of SAS concepts to be learned. We learned each and every concept. But in case of the advanced SAS, that is not the case. We are mostly going to use the same base SAS code, but we would be doing some extra added things on the same code so that we can make the same code more user friendly. That is one thing. Second thing, we are going to be using a lot of database concepts. We are going to be using a lot of SQL statements to fetch the data, to format the data, and stuff like that. And third would be the advanced SAS itself, where we would be using the advanced feature of SAS which are used by the organizations. So let's get started with the advanced SAS training. We would be starting with SAS macros. SAS macro in itself is a one topic, but the same SAS macro will have a lot of subtopics. So we shall look into each one of them one by one. The SAS macro language is another language layering on top of the regular SAS code. It can make programming easier and more adaptable. If you know exactly how to use the macros, programming in SAS becomes fun. How the SAS macros can help you? They help in saving the repetitive and tedious efforts. Also, you can use the macros for passing parameters to avoid hard coding. Like let's say, for example, in the base SAS, we had, let's say, date, where employee date, select employee details from the employee table, where the date is equal to. Now, every time we are putting the date over there, we are hard coding it. What we can do is we can take the date variable into the macro and put the macro variable in place of the hard coded value so that the same code can be used again and again. So it helps in saving repetitive and tedious efforts. Also, for passing parameters to avoid hard coding. To pass code fragments, you can also pass code fragment in a big code, piece of code in another code, so snip, thereby making certain tasks easier than using regular SAS alone. So when you start writing big programs in SAS, initially when you're writing 10, 15, 100 lines of code, you will not realize the use and need of the macros. But once you start using 1,000, 2,000, 5,000 lines of codes, the macro will come very handy for you. So macros facilitate conditional execution and can be used as program module. It can be reusable throughout your requirement. So what are we going to see? We shall see macros and macro variables, macro statements, macro functions. We'll also see interaction between the macros and the regular SAS language, and also some of the SAS macro options.